Addressing social emotional needs with high-ability kindergarten students in the general education classroom, a bibliotherapy approach, presented by Katelyn Thompson. I am a kindergarten teacher in my 7th year of teaching. I teach at Brumby Elementary, a Title I school in Cobb County with a high population of culturally and linguistically diverse students. What inspired me to create and implement a curriculum directed at high-ability students is threefold. 1, students aren't identified yet as gifted in kindergarten, so even though there are potentially gifted children, they don't have access to services. 2, those gifted students in my school, 1st through 5th grade, that are gifted only receive Target once a week. And 3, our school has significantly low gifted enrollment of 3 to 4%, not because we don't have as many gifted, but because several gifted children remain unidentified due to inequitable identification processes that put CLD students at a disadvantage. For these reasons, I felt it was important to develop a way to meet gifted and talented students' needs in the general education classroom. Affective needs are the focus of this applied project because I realized that kindergarten is a difficult transition for the gifted child who does not have access to the gifted programming yet. Often, asynchronous development leaves these children academically strong in math, reading, or both, but they're behind their peers in affective development, struggling with things like perfectionism, self-managing emotions, and cooperative learning skills. I was interested in developing an affective curriculum that implements a bibliotherapy approach into small group instruction to promote social-emotional understanding, development, and skills. Bibliotherapy, put simply, is using children's literature to help children understand and work through life's challenges. Students are able to make connections with characters who struggle through certain social and emotional challenges, and they can develop better skills and coping strategies. My research questions included 1, how might an affective small group curriculum impact the social emotional understandings of high-ability kindergarten students? And 2, how might an affective curriculum integration in reading, using bibliotherapy, affect high-ability kindergarten students' ability to cope with social-emotional challenges? The following are some of the NAGC CEC standards that I met during this applied project. For Standard 1.2, I used my understanding of development and individual differences to respond to the needs of my high-ability students by planning the curriculum unit around their particular affective needs, as well as their interests and enriching content for them. For 2.1, I kept activities throughout the unit rigorous and meaningful, connecting it to authentic experiences they have had, while also integrating challenging content standards in a small group setting. Each student comes from a different background, ethnically and/or linguistically, and our small group was a safe and inclusive place to engage in learning together. For 3.2, I designed the unit with specific modifications in mind to enrich for this group beyond what the rest of my class was learning. The unit incorporated several activities to promote creativity, like creating videos and posters, and I accelerated and deepened understanding of literary text by integrating character analysis and text-to-self connections. The unit addressed both academic and affective domains. For 4.2, the unit utilized several forms of assessments, and for 5.5, the unit included a variety of instructional strategies enhancing affective development. The project took place in my kindergarten class during guided reading time. During this time, students are engaged in literacy centers while I meet with small groups for guided reading. I pulled the participant students for a small group once a day, 3 to 4 days per week, to deliver instruction from the affective curriculum unit. The students included 1 boy with mixed ethnic background and 3 girls, 1 Black, 1 Brazilian who speaks Portuguese, and 1 white. All students were selected due to their above-average abilities within the class as witnessed the first month of school. They all also exhibited some social and emotional areas of need. The curriculum was designed over a 4-week period with an emotional strand and social strand, focusing on 1 of 4 topics per week. The topics were perfectionism, self-management, cooperation, and social responsibility. Each week, students focus learning around a children's text about the affective topic. For example, when learning about perfectionism, we read The Girl Who Never Made Mistakes. The unit focused first on content standards around reading comprehension, and then gradually led into a focus on the affective objectives during the course of the 3 to 4 days. Products generated include the affective curriculum unit, which included lesson plans, the materials needed, and formative assessments. Also, I created a pre- and post-assessment interview recording form. I created a student social-emotional self-evaluation survey. I also made a teacher's social-emotional evaluation rating scale. And also, this project overlapped a little with my practicum, for which I created a professional development presentation for kindergarten through second grade teachers that included my unit and findings. And I also created an affective learning children's book recommendation list. Here are a few of my findings. First, the pre-assessment interviews revealed that the students had little to no prior knowledge on the 4 domains of that unit. However, during post-assessment interviews, students were able to identify and describe the domain or trait adequately, and all were able to provide examples of ways to apply these skills in the real world. Last, students engaged in text-to-self connections in a reader response journal, but I noticed that they needed more elaboration. This showed me that the students were adequately challenged academically, but there was still some room for growth. Here are some examples of student work from their reader response text-to-self connections. The first one focused on cooperation. We read the book Teamwork Just Isn't My Thing and I Don't Like to Share. And this student's connection to the story was, I don't like when people boss me around. And then this second connection journal entry was from when we read The Girl Who Never Makes Mistakes, learning about perfectionism. And one of my students in their journal said, I spilled milk in my kitchen and I felt sad. This is a sample from when we learned about social responsibility. Students had to choose from 3 situations and brainstorm 3 possible realistic solutions to the situation by applying social responsibility. So the situation this student chose was, your friend is so sad because he wants to go trick-or-treating but doesn't have enough money to buy Halloween costumes this year. So the first solution was to give a costume that I don't need anymore, so kind of donating an old costume. The second was to buy them a costume, and the third was to give money to them so that they could buy a costume. Here are the results from the teacher evaluation rating scales that were completed both before the implementation of the unit and after. The names are pseudonyms. Lower scores on the rating scales are good, and all students improved to varying degrees in all domains from the initial evaluation in August to the post-evaluation in November. I've definitely seen some behavioral improvements in my students. One student, for example, used to cry at almost every mistake, but she's gotten so much better about not being so hard on herself and about scratching out her mistakes and fixing them without getting upset. She also would get upset at a lot of other things, and she's really learned to better manage those emotions. I've even seen her applying the strategies we learned, like counting to 10 or breathing or walking to calm down. The least amount of improvement of the 4 domains I felt was from social responsibility. This seemed to be a really challenging topic for this group, so it's definitely one that would be worth revisiting more often throughout the year. Moving forward, this applied project has spurred me to want to inspire K-5 teachers in my school to integrate affective curriculum into regular learning, particularly for their high ability and gifted students. I've already begun by using this applied project to inform my practicum, which was a professional development for K2 teachers, on how to enrich and meet the needs of gifted and high ability students in the general education classroom. This is really crucial since we have many gifted kids who have yet to be identified, and those that are identified only attend gifted services once a week. And last, I could submit a proposal to share my work and experience at the GAGC conference, where I can encourage other professionals that work with GT students, no matter what type of population or school that they teach in, because all schools really ought to regularly integrate affective learning into instruction, especially for high ability students. And perhaps the gifted teachers that might attend the conference can re-deliver this back to their gen ed teachers in the schools that they're in. Ultimately, implementing affective learning for GT students in gen ed classrooms helps our overall school meet the needs of these students, which better supports our gifted programming. The NAGC programming standards mention educators design curricula in cognitive, affective, aesthetic, social, and leadership domains that are challenging and effective for students with gifts and talents. One of the domains of the unit I implemented was social responsibility, and one of the NAGC programming standards is students with gifts and talents demonstrate personal and social responsibility and leadership skills. Another evidence-based practice listed in the NAGC programming standards is educators participate in ongoing professional development to support the social and emotional needs of students with gifts and talents. Time and time again, the NAGC programming standards refer back to the need for affective instruction and development with GT students. So providing a professional development on this topic would greatly serve the gifted education community. So not only can I take this project and continue to implement these practices in my own classroom, but I would love to continue to provide professional development opportunities for teachers at my school and at other schools.